are the learning objectives. And you may have heard about learning objectives, and there might have been expletives associated with some of those discussions, but the learning objectives are really that, when students want to know, what do I need to know, that's how we've outlined everything. So there are learning objectives for everything in this curriculum. And then there are resources to be able to find the answer to those learning objectives. And then the assessments are based on those learning objectives. So that formative assessment that everyone's taking this weekend, that will be based on the learning objectives for this particular system. So I think that those have been fairly solidified over the 4 years, and in version 4.0, this is really what we're looking at now. So the idea is that the students, the flipped classroom model that you hear a lot about these days, where the students are preparing, getting a lot of the information themselves, outside the classroom. So when they come in here, they are ready to use it, and we're going to show you how they do that. So it's all about self-directed learning, doing that on their own, and then coming in and using that information. So the classroom time can be reserved for higher level learning. You may have heard about our students talking about formative assessments and summative assessments. In my day, those were called quizzes and tests. But it's a little bit different twist to that. So a formative assessment is a low stakes as far as your grade. However, it's really designed to show you where are you as a student in your learning. Are you where you should be at this point? Have you attained the milestone or the competency where you should be at this point? So you can prepare for the summative assessment that is going to be more higher stakes and more comprehensive. And so we have those spread out, and as you probably heard, they have assessments on the weekends, on computers, which is very different. So this is the next generation Cells to Society curriculum. Seeing it from the very micro to the very macro across 4 years of medical training. So this is for the class of 2017 who is sitting in this room. They've already completed Foundations of Medicine, which was their first system, and successfully completed that one. They are now in the next one, the CTMD, and there we are kind of in the couple of weeks in there. They will move on to microbes and immune system, and then musculoskeletal, integument, and skin. And what you'll see is they kind of move through and then go into system by system by system. They'll take a break in June, and we'll have 8 to 9-ish weeks off, which we'll be talking to them about over the next few months about possible opportunities for them in the summer of next year. And then they'll come back and complete the rest of the systems. Then they will take a break and enjoy themselves and also prepare for the first step of the USMLE exam. Don't let them worry about that yet. Let us try and keep them from worrying about that. And after they finish that, they'll come back in March of 2015 and start what we call the clerkship. So that is a 1-year, 4 12-week blocks of clinical clerkships going through family medicine, psychiatry, OB, surgery, etc. And they will progress through that as their college. So that's how we keep the learning community concept going. So those 6 or 7 CPD groups, which is one college, Dunglison will start on internal medicine, and they will progress through the year together. Provide a lot of support for each other, and then their mentors and I know where they are, which is helpful. They then will finish that, we do a public policy course, and then they have a tremendous amount of time from March until graduation in 2017 to plan a program for themselves. So the electives program is pretty much entirely elective, except for a few things. So they really plan their own individualized educational program with our assistance and with our oversight. And then we will head into the residency application time period and interview time period, the match in March of 2017, and then graduation. And it will go by really fast, at least for us. So just to give the families an idea, this was this last week. This is what your students did. They only have class in the morning. Doesn't that seem like nothing? I've heard some parents say that they're busy, trust me. So this is hours, and they only have free. They're not free. So they're not in here though. So they are doing a lot of preparation outside of class. They're coming in. This is what they're doing in the mornings, either in this room, the learning studio, or upstairs in the auditorium. And you can see there's a lot of variety of what's going on. A lot of active learning, very minimal lecture time, and a lot of things where they're doing discussions or active activities. And then you see that little small gray box there on Friday. That's the formative assessment, which they have that opened up yesterday afternoon and will close tomorrow. And again, the formative assessments the students can take at home on their computers or anywhere on their computers. The summative assessments, a lot more high stakes. those are given, those have to be taken here in the health system. So we have an honor system, but we don't want to teach it. So our students do receive scores. There are no grades per se. In the first 18 months of medical school, it is pass-fail. And we talk to the students a lot about embracing the pass-fail. And some embrace it on the very first assessment, and some never embrace it. They have a different course through med school. So we definitely encourage students to embrace the pass-fail. It's different now. You were going through college trying to get into med school. It was a lot about the student themselves, and it's kind of selfish learning to some extent. And that's true in med school. It's about your own learning. But you're doing all that learning with this purpose of taking care of patients. So it's a very different way of thinking. So you really want to get the knowledge that's going to be useful to you to use in the care of your patients. So it's a different set of priorities. And it's some adjustments to that. So that's their schedule, and this is what they're doing in all those other hours. So you can see that there's a lot of preparation going on, a lot of resources for them to use. And I think that we've really found that it takes 6 to 8 weeks of medical school for our students to find what works best for them as far as study techniques, study how they can't do everything. There are only 24 hours in the day, and you cannot do everything. And so I think that, and no student seems to study in the same way. So I think it's normal for your students to have had some stress trying to figure that out. And I think they're just hitting their stride now and kind of figuring out what system is going to work best for them out of all of these possibilities. So a little bit about our space, that our space and our curriculum kind of were developed at the same time. You are sitting in this building, which I would just like to say we were recently voted one of the top 10 beautiful medical schools in the United States, so there it is. We're very proud of that. And you are sitting in our learning studio with some teams hard at work. Again, the concept being that we're working in small groups together with this knowledge and this information that we've kind of gleaned already before we come into class. We do have a simulation center under us that we're going to let you guys get tours of today. Simulation center and standard education area, so you really have to see it. It's extremely state-of-the-art, high-tech. We have all the bells and whistles down there. There's some photos, but you're going to need to see it for yourself today. And that, I think, is... So the next thing, are there any questions right now? Let's take questions later. Yeah. Oh, good questions. Yeah, so the two mentors in all the CPD groups are typically, they're both faculty members, and typically one physician's faculty member and one non-physician faculty member. And that might be a social worker, that might be a chaplain, that might be a nurse, that might be a pharmacist, so a variety of the non-physicians. So we have two perspectives, which is very important. All right, now that you guys know everything about self-directed and adult learning theory and active learning, we're now going to let you do it for yourselves. So I'd like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Mary Kate Worden, who is Associate Professor of Medical Education and the Neurosciences, and she is now going to lead you in an exercise that our students do very frequently. Enjoy.
Good morning. So we're starting by handing out these folders, which I asked you not to open just yet, because we all want to start together. And every folder, we're going to presume for today's purposes, you're going to work in groups of 7. So if there's more than one group of 7 at your table, you're going to need some extra materials, and we have to do those. So let's distribute the folders and see how we go. So this type of exercise is called team-based learning, because it presumes that you'll work in a team to learn something. Usually the preparation for team-based learning is something you do before you come to class. So we'll announce that on the course website. We'll say, please go to this website and watch the streaming video, or please go to this textbook and read the chapter, or please read this handout, or please, we will tell you what the instruction is. Now, for purposes of today, we did not assign you anything before you came, and we presume you did no pre-assigned work, but that's very unusual. We never presume that. We always assign something first. So what we're going to do today is let you do the preparation right in the classroom. It's a very brief exercise, so we'll be able to do the whole thing together now. Now, who do we have that's more than 7 at a table? I see table 12, and they're at table 13. Do we have enough folders? There's also extra materials here on the card. you already know something about. Maybe some of you love to eat cuisine that has red hot chili peppers in it.